If you have limited resources, just skip to number 3 and buy a website
Okay.
for like $1,000. I'm telling you, I've tried creating content on more generic stuff. It gets more engagement, gets more followers, but it doesn't drive revenue because the riches are not in the niches. The riches are in the big broad markets.
Neil, thank you for coming on the show. I tell you, I did a deep dive on you this weekend, and the deeper I dove, the more impressed I was. What a career.
Thank you. I'm humble.
Yeah, well, let me just read a little bit of your bio. This isn't even the full thing. The Wall Street Journal called you a top influencer on the web. Not too shabby. Forbes says you're one of the top 10 marketers. Well done. Entrepreneur Magazine said you created one of the top 100 most brilliant companies. You were recognized as a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 30 by President Obama. Did you get to go to the White House for that one?
I did.
And a top 100 entrepreneur under the age of 35 by the United Nations. And lastly, New York Times best-selling author with a book I want to talk about today called Hustle, the Power to Charge Your Life with Money, Meaning, and Momentum. That's a lot.
Thank you.
That's a, what were you like as a child? I mean, were you just all over the place or were you hyper focused back then?
No, I was all over the place. I'm more hyper focused now.
Yeah. Is this something that you just learned or did you just always want to hustle? This was born in you. You're kind of a Gary Vaynerchuk kind of guy. It was.
Yeah, I think I was born with it.
Yeah, lemonade stand at 7 years old, that kind of stuff.
No, it's similar, but yes, not that early, but close enough.
Is this something that is in your family as well, or are you the only one? Okay,
No, it's in the family.
okay. What do your parents do?
Mom owns a home daycare. She tried opening some preschools outside. Those didn't work.
Uh-huh.
Technically, one outside that didn't work. And dad worked at a bank. But almost everyone on my mom's side of the family is in business one way or another. Her
Okay.
brothers and sisters, at least. And yeah, I got a lot of her from that side of the family.
Okay. Now tell us a little bit about Neil Patel Digital, a little bit about your company.
Sure. So we're a global ad agency. We help people with their digital marketing generate more traffic, leads, sales, revenue, right? And in a profitable way, we pretty much do all forms of marketing, whether it's SEO or paid advertising or social media or email, or conversion optimization or affiliate marketing, whatever you're thinking about, we pretty much do as long as it's digital.
Do you focus with large institutions or do you do smaller companies as well?
We do both. We have SMB clients, mid-sized businesses, and Fortune 100 companies as well that are clients.
Okay. All right. Now, you took the time to write, I guess you co-wrote this book, right? Hustle. Can you tell us a little bit about your book?
Yeah, sure. So the best way I would put it is there's a lot of ways to succeed in life. Hustle breaks down some of the things that you need to keep in mind to do well in life. And I'll give you an example of it. A lot of people believe that, to do well, you have to get lucky. Well, you can create your own luck. And my co-author, Patrick, was in like a little pond with his son. Son was looking for fish, couldn't find it. His son just jumps in, shakes his feet, and out, comes some fish. And the point I'm getting at is Patrick said there was no fish in the pond, but there really were. And his son created his own luck, right? In essence, if you're not willing to put in the time, the energy, and get creative, you won't do well. And the same goes with like commercial real estate. If you look at it, there's so many opportunities. You're in LA. I don't know how it is in LA, but there must be a ton of empty buildings here. I could be wrong.
Office, yes. Office is pretty. I mean, Class B and C office is struggling right now. So there's real
A,
opportunity. And now A buildings that are really nice, occupancy is 80 in the 80s and 90s. It's full, but they're offering great amenities, and so people want good value right now. They're really looking to be in the best buildings they can. The B and C are going to need to be converted, torn down, repurposed somehow. And there's people getting very entrepreneurial on how they can repurpose it. So I was talking to a guy over the weekend that's going to convert one to storage. He's going to make it like a public storage place. This isn't a big building, but smaller building. I think it's only like 6 stories, but it would support what he's trying to do. So people are getting creative. But you're right. You know, the brokerage community, it's highly competitive.
Can you
And you know, what's that?
can you convert a Class C to a Class A or a Class B to a Class A, or it doesn't work that way?
You got to be in the right area too. It'd be hard to do. It would be hard to do. I mean, you'd have to really make the building nice. I mean, I'll give you an example. So we've got a client that we're working with up in San Francisco, and he bought a Class B office building in the heart of San Francisco 2 years ago, and he's still reworking it. Now, he's very fortunate that AI has come along and they're looking for the place to be, the places to be in that area in San Francisco. But he's doing it to where everything you do in your office, is on your phone. So if you want to come in and have your breakfast waiting for you at your office, there'll be a restaurant down in the lobby area. We'll have food ready for you. If you want to shoot a podcast, you can book the podcast room from here. If you want to set reservations for the rooftop restaurant, you can do all that. But the location is pretty good too, though. So it's pretty hard to go from C to A because it's usually not in the best of areas.
But he just did it, right? So he's converting a B to
it.
A building.
Yeah, he's got it. But I think, honestly, Neil, I think it's a little bit of luck too that, AI is coming into San Francisco and they're taking up a lot of space. And, I just had somebody was up there last 2 weeks ago, actually, for the 4th of July weekend. And they were there. So during the day, it's gotten a lot nicer, but at night, it's still a little bit daunting, so it's just, you got to really pick the right area. But, it's, how can we take the strategies that you're talking about in your book and really apply that to commercial real estate? Because it is a very competitive industry. There's a lot of people trying to get into this industry because it is very lucrative. You can make money fairly quickly in your first few years if you do it right. But what should we be doing if we're getting started right now?
Well, the first thing I would think about if I was in commercial real estate, and I'm not, I don't know much about real estate, but I do know the hard costs to build one of these buildings and land costs are through the roof.
Mm-hmm.
And in many cases, you're buying a lot of these buildings for way cheaper than they would cost to actually build it from scratch. And some people just want out, and they'll take losses. And this is just my 2 cents. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do think the real estate market for offices will slowly come back over time.
Yeah.
It's already come back for Class A. I've seen the same thing. If you're in LA, you look at Century City, the Class A's are all filled up.
Yeah.
Right. You start going Class B, Class C, a little bit slower, but they're older buildings and people are just keeping them up to date, like that Fox building, and they still do quite well renting them out. And what I would tell people is gobble them up and be patient if you can, even if it's a Class B or Class C, because I've seen some deals where they'll sell the building and everything, and it's more than land value. I mean, it's cheaper than land value. So it's just like, what do you really have to lose? And I think the market is struggling for many reasons, but one of the big ones is interest rates are just really high. But interest rates won't stay this high forever. And I do think within the next, call it 2 to 3 years, interest rates will be in a much better place.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they are coming down. And that's great for an investor. But now on the brokerage side of it, I'm getting into brokerage and I'm going to go out there. I want to do sales and leasing. Your book hits on a lot of great points for it. I want to go out and bring in clients that are going to help me find a new retail or office space. What should how can we leverage your strategy you talk about in the book to really become a top-notch broker in my area?
So I want to break down 3 things someone can do to be a top broker in their area. 1, make sure you have your social profiles, but having them isn't enough. You need to create entertaining content. Yeah. A good example of this is there's a New York real estate named Ryan. He's Sirhan. There you go.
Yeah.
So you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
His content's entertaining. It's not just boring and dry. He does a mixture of both. You can do that for both commercial, residential, whatever you want. I think that's the first thing because that'll help you get much more traction. The second thing is go and create websites, your own website,
Mm.
and make sure you're not just on, you know, I'm making this up. I don't know, Century 21 or Caldwell Banker or something like that. Like
Yeah,
have your own website where you can
right.
attract leads, rank it on Google, get the reviews, submit to Yelp, all that kind of good stuff. Have your Google My Business profile. That'll all help you get leads in the long run.
Yeah.
And the third thing I would do, this is really unconventional. I don't really talk about this too much online, or it's not even in my book. But there's a lot of people in real estate, a lot of brokers and agents who have just left. They're done. It's a really tough time. But they have websites, they have tons of Yelp reviews. I would go hit them up and say, hey, Joe, you got this website, you're done, you're retired. I'm starting off my career. I love what you did. I'd love to give you $1,000 and just take that website off you. And
Oof.
your Yelp reviews and everything's better than sitting there doing nothing. I don't have tons of money, but I give you $1,000. Maybe that's for 2,000. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're not doing anything with it. It's great for you because now you got this business, this profile that's well branded and is ranking and has all these reviews and is collecting leads. And then what you do is you adjust the website to put you as a main person, but you still keep them on, like things like that. And I think that'll do that can help you generate quite a bit of revenue.
That's a first. I've never heard of anybody bring that idea up before. Um, yeah, that's a great way. You're going in. One thing about websites, I think we as brokers we tend to just go in and get was it Wix? What are those basic and just build
Yeah.
it, and then we build it and we let it set. And we never, if I can't tell you how many brokerages I spoke to, Neil, that have never touched their SEO since the day they built the site. How
Yeah.
often should we be doing that?
You should be touching it on a monthly basis, worst case, but ideally once a week at least.
Oh, that much. I do it every 3 months, and I thought I was
Well, you want to keep publishing content like blog
right.
posts and educational information. And without that, you're not going to do as well.
Right. Yeah. It, we do, so I do our SEO every 3 months. We put a blog post out every week. Part AI, part, I write a good chunk of it and then add AI in there. I use AI for a lot of questions, and I use AI for a lot of analytics too, because I think that's important. And probably something that a lot of people in commercial real estate aren't doing is using AI for analytics. But, um, it's, we drive a good amount of leads because of that. The SEO is something that really we focused on for a long time.
Selling one building, for $50 million, commission on that is pretty nice. I don't know what the
I
average
haven't done that
commercial.
in a while, but
Yeah,
I
even
do think,
$5 million, right?
yeah,
5 million, 6 million, 10 million. Just some
yeah.
of them are crazy. There's a street called I think it's Beverly Boulevard
Yep.
and or South Beverly Boulevard, and they have like these small retail places. And
Hmm.
like the one like $10 million for a building. And I'm like, who's gonna
Yeah.
spend $10 million on these buildings? But people do it. And I'm like,
Yeah.
so you're telling me your rent is like 20, 30 grand a month and you want $10 million for this building? How are you gonna make the numbers pan out? You can't.
Yeah. 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 We see that. We put clients on Rodeo and I saw what they were paying. And, most of them look at it as an advertising expense, but now on Beverly, I can't really justify. Those are some big numbers. Your company is going to have to be doing pretty well. Um,
But on
Neil,
Rodeo, I don't know what those buildings sell for, but my guess is at this point they're like 40, 50, $60 million for one of those buildings.
yeah, it depends on the class of the building and who's the tenants are, and there's a lot of variables. As far as content strategy, obviously I'm a little off on SEO. What should be my content strategy if I'm a newer agent? Let's start with a newer agent first, and then a more experienced agent.
So it actually doesn't matter if you're newer or more experienced.
Okay.
What you should actually think about is what are the most common questions people ask
Okay.
when they're looking to lease or buy a building or whatever it may be. Go and create content around those questions and answer them within your website.
Mm. Yeah. And
And
how often do you
specifically for
think you
your
should be putting
area,
out blog?
right?
What's that?
Like specifically for your area. And I'll
Right.
give you a great example. You mentioned Rodeo Drive.
Yep.
You can't actually talk about what a building is worth and what you generated in rent something that's generic for all of LA, because Rodeo Drive, the buildings would be worth more and you're not going to collect as much as in rent proportion wise. That's just my opinion. I'm making an assumption here, but I'm probably
Right.
somewhat accurate because you mentioned it's an advertising expense.
Yep.
Versus if you go somewhere else, like Hollywood or something like that, it's probably a much better ratio than it would
Mhm.
be in Beverly Hills.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you can just get off Rodeo and you have a couple streets over and it's not near as much. It's, the big firms want to be on Rodeo because of the,
The cachet.
yeah, exactly. And now, as far as setting myself apart, how can I, as a new broker that is willing to do the hustle, and how can I set myself apart from all of the other brokers that are out there? Because in this building, there's I'm in a high rise in Brentwood. There's probably 300 agents in this building. How do I differentiate
Wow.
myself? Yeah, that's the thing is, when you're starting off new in commercial, actually just in real estate, maybe not so much in residential. That's going through a little evolution right now, but your competition has been in the business for 2, 3, 5, 10, 15 years, and I need to come in and be able to make enough money to live here in Southern California or any place. I got to really set myself apart. How do I differentiate myself from each other broker that's out there?
So we talked about three already:
Yep.
social media, SEO, and buying up these websites that are retired because you'll do quite well from that. But there's another one that is a big differentiating factor that most brokers will roll their eyes at when I say, but it's actually being very responsive and following up on time. And what I mean by that is when you get a call, answer it. Can't respond, text them right away saying, hey, I'm in a meeting or whatever it may be. I'll call you back in 20 or 30 or whatnot. Let's say if you're doing leases, you lease out someone apartment buildings and you follow up with those tenants that you represented 9 months before the lease is going to expire, saying, hey, do you need help renewing your lease, or all these little things like that. This all impacts how well they do on their end.
It's so funny, Neil, because you're not in commercial real estate, but that's one of the biggest complaints that's in our industry is that brokers do not call back. And that is always absolutely amazing me, because what is the simplest thing you can do? You can create all this content, put all this information out there, and somebody calls you and then you don't respond.
Yep.
I don't get it. I don't understand
I don't either. It's
it.
really
Are
common in
you,
your space.
what's that?
I know it's common in your space. I've dealt
Oh,
with
do
it
you?
firsthand.
Yeah, it's just I'm like, I don't get it. So we tell our agents, we put a timetable up. If you respond within 1 minute, 5 minutes, and then percentage wise, the better chance you have of getting the deal done or getting that, turning them into a client. And 1 to 5 minutes, and anything after that, they've probably already gone on and called another broker. You
Yep.
know, that's the thing. It's and somebody asked a question. I was talking to them the other day. They said, where was it? What is your advice for entrepreneurs and small businesses looking to effectively utilize digital marketing with limited resources?
If you have limited resources, just skip to number three and buy a website
Okay.
for like $1,000. I'm telling you, there's a lot of sites that already get the leads and the traffic and have the local listing reviews and they're ranking well, and they're not doing anything with the site. But I wouldn't just buy one, I would buy a lot. So you're in Los Angeles, I would buy Brentwood, another one in Pacific Palisades, another one in Santa Monica, another one in West Hollywood, another one in Beverly Hills, another one in Bel Air. They're all similar areas. You can serve all
Right.
of them. I mean,
Right.
maybe Bel Air doesn't really have too many commercial properties, but you get the point,
Yeah.
right? If you did that, you could do quite well and you would have 4 or 5 sites.
That'd be a lot of maintenance, but I see where you're going with that. It would be not that many commercial real estate brokers. Now, residential, yes, there's a ton of residential real estate sites, but commercial, there's not that many. Surprisingly, not that many commercial real estate agents have their own websites. A lot of big firms don't allow it because they want to see the branding. They want to make sure it's, the big three especially. They're like, no, you need to do your
Like
own
the
thing.
CBREs and stuff like that.
Yeah. I want to talk about mindset. Obviously, your mindset is a little bit special with all these accomplishments. What kind of mindset or even habits, what would you recommend for an aspiring broker, somebody getting started?
there's only so much time in the day.
Yeah.
If you're not putting in 110%, you just wasted that time and you're never going to be able to get it back or buy it back. You can't buy more time.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, put in 110%. Shit's going to go bad. It's not always going to work out in your favor. You're going to feel beaten down and kicked and feel that things aren't going the way you want and you should just give up. But nothing worthwhile comes easy. And you just got to keep pushing and put in 110% and make sure as you make mistakes, learn from them and avoid making the same ones over and over again. And eventually you'll get to where you want in life. But
Yeah.
you got to put in the work and the time and the energy, which most people aren't willing to do.
Yeah. Now, if you remember, I'm sure Gary Vaynerchuk, you probably dealt with him before. He used to, a couple years ago, his hustle culture was you can sleep later. 4 hours of sleep is plenty. 5 hours of sleep is plenty. Do you subscribe to that mentality, or are you like, listen, well, you're at 9 to 5, give it your all, or 9 to 7, whatever it is, but then shut down? What mindset are you?
I'm more of a 24/7.
Okay.
I don't think things end at 9 to 5, especially when you're starting off. If you're getting bigger and growing and you have a big team, sure, maybe you can relax a little bit here and there, but it's still probably going to be hectic. But I do believe even with the hectic and the chaos and, working long hours, you should still try to get 8 hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Because if you get 8 hours of sleep, yeah, you may have a little bit less time to work, but you'll find that those hours will be much more productive.
Yeah. Yeah. Gary's really changed his tune on that now. So, but he was pretty hardcore a few years ago. Now, how big of a team do you have now?
1,000 something
Okay. Are they all they're not all in California, are
scattered all over the world.
they? Okay. Um, I want to talk about building a team. What was your thought process when you were building your team? When did you bring in your first hire?
You're bringing your first hire when you know you're spending your time on stuff you shouldn't be doing. And if you spend on something else, you would make way more money. So then you go hire a person to help you with the stuff you shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
And the simplest way to hire when I think about building a team is you go look for people who are really good and have done it before. So whatever you're trying to solve, look for someone who worked for your competition, solved it for them, and hire that person because they'll probably be able to solve it for you because they did it for your competition.
Yeah. Yep, and they've been through the process already. Because a lot of people, especially in our industry, they want to bring somebody in, train them, and I just feel like that's a lot of brain damage. I mean,
Uh-huh.
and instead of doing your business, you're training, and that's not what you should be doing. And so I believe just like you are, go find somebody that's done it, or maybe doesn't want to be a broker anymore, but knows the process and can really take some of the load off of you. And then find somebody that has your weakness. Like a lot of people just can't do social media, and they don't want to do it. Bring somebody in that's doing it. Now you put. I don't know if you saw that Layla Hermosi retweeted you last night. And so you put a post out about how you feel that I think you're at 1 point some million on YouTube, correct? And you put a tweet out that you think you won't grow to be a huge account because of the kind of content you put out. And I thought, man, that's something I really want to talk about because you're right on point with that. Could you kind of touch on that tweet that you put out?
Yeah, so
Are you looking it up right now, Neil?
I am looking it up right now.
I
I
thought
just pulled up
so.
her profile. I was like, oh, let me see this. So
Yeah, Layla.
yeah,
Do you know Alex and Layla?
I do. They're great people.
Yeah, they are.
So, I pretty much put I'll never have over 1 million followers on social media.
Yeah,
And, the big thing is uh I've tried creating content on more generic stuff. It gets more engagement, gets more followers, but it doesn't drive revenue.
right,
So I don't do it. And there's nothing wrong with it. You can monetize if you have a broad audience. I
right,
found that I make much more money when I focus on a specific vertical, not a niche. And I
right,
don't like the word niche because the riches are not in the niches. The riches are in the big broad markets, or not big broad, but big markets. And
right,
what I mean by big markets, a market like marketing is very big, advertising, B2B software, CRM, stuff like that. These are big categories,
right.
right? It's not in the niches, it's in the big markets.
Right. Yeah.
And creating content in these big markets doesn't necessarily mean there's a lot of people, right, that you could target, but there's a lot of potential dollars that are spent.
Right. I think in our industry, everybody is so focused on more followers, more followers, more followers, instead of just bringing content that is really of value to the people that are already following us. And it's kind of a disease, really. We just can't really get our hands around why we shouldn't be. I mean, and in commercial real estate, you really want to be hyper focused. You want to be, so the riches are in the niches. I'm going to steal that one, by the way. In commercial real estate, because you don't want to be everything to everybody. You want to be very focused on, if you're going to be an office broker, retail broker, you just
Yeah,
want to become.
but an office broker isn't a niche; it's a big market,
Well,
right?
it's a big market. True.
Yes.
Yeah. It,
A niche would be I'm a Class C office broker for used car dealerships. I'm getting very specific.
that
You
kind
get
of,
what I mean, right?
yeah, that's way too small. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, you've got to be office broker, West LA, or or LA, and but then we're posting content about something.
And even downtown LA, you would know this better than me. I don't think downtown LA office space is doing well, even if
It's,
it's Class A.
surprisingly, Neil. So we have one of the top office brokers in our office, Monique. She is absolutely amazing, and I was talking to her about it. There are streets downtown LA that, if you're going north of it, the offices are full, but right across the street, buildings are 40%, 50% occupancy. But again, it's the stuff that's a little further north is newer, and then there's some that are down there, but you've also got insurance problems down there, because you've got a lot of homeless that are there, and they're starting fires, and the buildings catch on fire. So insurance is a real problem. But yeah, so we need to really focus on an area and really focus our content on that. And so we tend to start. This is what's going on in LA, in our marketplace. Really focus on it. These are the occupancy in the area. How often do you think a agent should be posting on all social media? Or you know what? Here's the first question.
At least
What
once a
social media
day.
should a commercial real estate agent be on? What platform?
LinkedIn,
Yep.
Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, and X. You can use the same content on all of them.
Yep. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you should be
always,
posting at least once a day.
okay, once a day. That's a lot. You're going to scare a lot of brokers with that one. They've got,
It's a
Neil, what we
reality.
tell them to do, what we tell our agents to do, is at least 3 times a week. And then they start learning how to do it, and then they'll start posting more. But we tell them to just document their day, because they're going to be out doing showings, or they'll be going out on a pitch. And we tell them to document their day so they can really see how easy it can be, instead of having to create content. And so, yeah, those are all the platforms we're on. And we post on our commercial company every day. And I do suggest the more you're out there, the better off you're going to be. You know, AI is something that everybody in commercial brokerage is jumping on. And you're seeing a lot of the blog content is pretty stale. You can tell they're coming up with a idea and then putting it into AI and then putting that out on their blog.
Yeah.
It's happening.
Yeah, but no one wants to read that junk crap content. People want to read new, fresh stuff that's not been talked about before.
Yeah. I was watching one of your videos, and you made a good point. Is the AI is going out there grabbing everybody's information and putting it together into yours. So you're putting the same content out that everybody else is putting out. You're not going to stand out.
People want to read the articles. Like, if you're looking to rent office space in downtown LA, you should probably stick to the south. The north isn't renting out well. I'm making this up. I could be switching up locations, but the north isn't renting the well. The occupancy is only around 40%. So if you ever want to get out, it's going to be hard. The south is, on the flip side, is 80+% newer buildings. Here are the streets that are good. Here are the ones that are bad. Avoid these areas and go from there.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think we've really got to think about how to set ourselves apart. We really fall into I'm just going to put it in AI and get the blog out, or I'm going to get out and create a tweet real quick in AI.
It doesn't work.
It doesn't. Trust me, I've tried it. I thought, you know what, let's try this and then let's look at our analytics. And let's see what's really happening here. And we put like 3 or 4 blogs out over time, and just to see just to test the marketplace. You don't get viewership. People just
Nope.
don't. It's too, and we make sure that we put pretty good content. Our head of marketing is a master's out of USC, and so she knows how to use AI pretty well. But we're just testing the markets. We do analytics, and that's one thing that I want to move into is how do you recommend the use of AI? Obviously, we know how to write a blog, a tweet. How else can we be utilizing?
Ideation, research. Those are the two main areas in commercial real estate. Maybe it can help you figure out how to convert buildings from commercial office space to residential. I have no idea, like apartment complexes. I know some people
Right.
have been trying to work on that, but it's harder to do than people
Yeah.
think, especially with things like plumbing and stuff like that, that you got to
Yeah.
reroute in these massive buildings can't be easy. But
Mhm.
yeah, those are some of the things I would think about.
Well, I don't think a lot of people realize that, how to use it for analytics. I think it's very powerful that, and for testing content. And, there's a lot of things that you can be doing. Um, which AI system do you prefer? Chat GPT, Bard, Gemini, which one?
I use Gemini and I also use Chat GPT. They're both good.
Yeah. Yeah, you don't, okay. No Bard, huh? Yeah, that's one.
Same thing. Bard got changed into Gemini.
Oh, it did. That's Bard got switched. I did not know that.
Yeah,
Okay. Well, Neil, tell us, I want to go back to your book a little bit. What made you want to write this book?
I want to be a New York Times bestselling author so I can get more speaking fees. Didn't work out that way, but that's what I thought. I'm just being honest, but that was the
Christ
reason why I wrote.
almighty. You know, that's impressive actually. How long did it take you guys to write the book?
It took like 6 months to a year.
Did it? Okay, that's not too bad. All right, what's next on the plate for Neil Patel? What are you going to be up to?
Continually expand NP Digital, buy more companies, and expand into new territories.
How many companies do you guys own right
Just we have many divisions, but
now?
and we're in 19 countries.
Yeah, it pretty impressive what you've done at your young age. It's amazing. You've got the right mindset going. I'm going to put your book up on my website. You can see it here behind me, and people are going to be able to go find it. Is there any closing advice you'd like to give somebody that's a young entrepreneur that's ready to get started in commercial real estate?
Put in the time and energy. It doesn't matter if it's commercial real estate or anything else. If you're not willing to, you're not going to do well.
That's amazing. Yeah, it's spot on, right? You've got to have the mindset. All right, Neil, thank you very much for your time. Again, the book is going to be up here. If anybody has any questions for Neil, put in the comments below. I'll make sure he sees it. He's actually not too far away. I might come over and we'll go out for a coffee or something. But Neil, thank you. Thank you very much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
All right, have a good day. And for those of you watching, if you could, please give us a like. And if you haven't done so, make sure you subscribe.